the Actor Live. Last year, the Kelly Brush Foundation, in collaboration with the United Spinal Association, started these virtual discussion groups focused on adaptive sports and recreation. And this group meets bi-weekly, every other Tuesday at 5:30. And the hope is that it provides a platform for adaptive sports enthusiasts to engage in lively discussions about various recreational activities. So I will put in the chat, um, and you can either fill it out now if you've joined these before, or you can fill it out at the end. But it's just a little survey to provide some feedback on these discussions and how we can make it better if you have suggestions. And we also put in how to get on our email list for any upcoming discussions. And so, um, oh, we also, yeah, we record these discussions, so I can also put the Kelly Brush YouTube channel. We post them on our YouTube channel every week. So you can watch any past discussions on up on our YouTube channel. But for those of you who don't know, the Active Project is our digital resource for all things adaptive sports and recreation. And this is where you can discover sports, find places to try them, connect with peers. We have informational videos on dozens of sports. We have hundreds of organizations and their events. We have forums and messaging and equipment information and much, much more. So please sign up and take advantage of all those resources. And you can sign up at AP. I'll also put that in the chat. Lots of things going in on the chat right now. So bear with me, but there's lots of good information being shared. So you can sign up there and yeah, provide any feedback if you'd like. So let's get started at today's discussion. So we recognize that for many family and friends and family members, the post-injury world can be kind of overwhelming, and there's often a lack of clear, accessible information about how to best support a loved one in getting active again or trying something new. So tonight we'll explore what that support looks like, from emotional encouragement to practical help, and how it can kind of evolve over time. This spring, the Kelly Brush Foundation partnered with an occupational therapy student to develop a set of new educational resources specifically for supporters, people like parents, siblings, partners, friends, and even community rec staff. These resources are designed to help kind of close that knowledge gap and empower supporters to feel more confident in their role, whether that's offering physical assistance or helping with logistics or just simply being a positive presence. Tonight, we'll be sharing what we've learned through that project, previewing some of those resources, and hearing from members of the community about what support looks like in real life. We're also thrilled to be joined by United Spinal, who will share some more about the programs and services they offer to support both individuals with spinal cord injury and their extended networks. So before I pass it off, I'll start by passing it off to Annie from United Spinal, and then we'll pass it to Molly, the amazing OT student, to share her resources. But I just wanted to remind everyone that please have questions, and as questions come up, you can either jump right in, you can raise your hand, or you can write questions in the chat. Please take advantage of that chat feature, and we'll kind of be monitoring those and can ask them as needed or as we go. So, Annie, I'll pass it to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. About how long do I have? Just I don't want to take up too much time.
Um, so we're gonna Molly will be about 30 minutes and then and then we'll open it up for discussion. So maybe
Okay,
20 minutes, 15
got
minutes.
it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for having me. And I think I'm able to share my screen here. Let me I'll have to, I don't know if I have to be a co-host to share my screen.
Oh, you know what? I might.
We can change that for you.
Yeah.
There, let's try that now. All right. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, let me make the slideshow here. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. I am Annie Streit, the grassroots, excuse me, I've been doing a lot of talking today. The grassroots advocacy manager at United Spinal Association. And I've been with the organization for about 4.5 years, a little longer than that. And I work along with Steve Lieberman, who is our Senior Director of Advocacy and Policy. And we work together on managing our grassroots advocates, which I'll kind of explain what that is, and then all the resources we've created for the community. And I also am a power wheelchair user, excuse me, for almost 20 years, 20 years now, from a diving accident. So, I've learned a lot just from creating these resources too. So first off, you see we started our grassroots advocacy network back in July of 2020, which is pretty close to about when I started. And it has grown. You can see the few orange blobs on the left, and it has grown to now almost, I think we're 8 advocates away from 2,600 registered advocates for United Spinal. So the link below is how you register to be an advocate. And what we like to say is, as as a registered advocate, we sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. As a registered advocate, you're going to be receiving emails we send out, and we're not going to bombard you. We tell them you're not signing your life away, and you're not signing up and having to do a million things. We have created this advocacy program so people can be involved at any level they want from beginning to end. So if you want to just sit in at an advocacy live and listen, go for it. And I'll kind of explain all of that. But we're continuing to try to build up this advocacy network because when we send in these action alerts to our members of Congress, that's what makes them aware of what needs to be changed and what we're trying to push and get through. Let's see, let me go to the next one here. Starting with some of our resources. Some of these some of these more apply to chapters and resources we've provided for the chapters, but there are some great resources just for the community in general. And you can access all of these resources on the advocacy resource webpage. And I will send this PowerPoint to you guys when I'm done so you can share it with everybody so they have these links. On this resource webpage, the first thing you'll see is our advocacy and action, a toolkit for the rolling revolution. And this is 60 plus pages full of information. I worked on this when I first started at United Spinal, and it really gives the background, defining advocacy and key legislation, the legislative process, creative, effective storytelling, initiative creation, assembling coalitions, kind of everything that goes into advocacy. So if you're unfamiliar and just kind of want to educate yourself, I recommend looking through this. If you are familiar with advocacy and maybe want to get a group together to do an event, I also recommend looking through this because it provides a lot of information to do that. The next thing I'm going to go down to, I'm going to skip the advocacy program guide, but the state and local advocacy menu. We created this, and it literally looks like a menu. And it just lists a whole bunch of different actionable initiatives that if you're wanting to pursue advocacy and maybe trying to figure out an issue you want to focus on, it's just a whole bunch of different ideas that we've listed, not saying that we want you to do this, but we want to empower our advocates to choose whatever issues there are. And so we're just trying to help along the way. And it's an ever-changing document. We'll add things, take things away. So that's also available on the advocacy resource webpage. And then I think one of the best ones here is the advocacy curriculum module 1 called Why Advocacy. And this was really put together. There's a whole online curriculum we're wanting to put together. But budgetary reasons, it takes time. But this first module, it really, you'll be introduced to advocacy and why it matters. It will cover the goals of the curriculum, the background and mission of United Spinal and the Grassroots Advocacy Network, the various forms and methods of advocacy, important advocacy wins through the years, and the reasons for getting involved with federal, state, and local politics, and key advocacy terms and definitions. So this is another good thing if you're not familiar with advocacy. I would say it would probably take 20 to 30 minutes to do this. And it's just a very interactive learning module all about advocacy. And it was actually really fun putting this together and organizing everything. And I'm really happy how it turned out. And we've got a lot of positive feedback on that. So if you're interested in getting into advocacy, I highly recommend just to visit our webpage. This is free. You don't have to pay anything for this curriculum. And like I said, you can get it done in 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. Next are our working groups. This is probably my favorite part of working with United Spinal. We've created these working groups through the recommendations of our advocates. And starting next month, we will actually be starting up our 6th working group. So I'll talk about these working groups really quick. And these are the resources that I think are really beneficial. And what makes these resources so good is because all the information comes from the experience of our members. It's their suggestions, it's what they've been through, it's stuff they've done that didn't work out. And so they have recommendations on how to do different things. So the first is our accessible parking working group. And this is a hot topic for many people. And it actually came up in one of our advocacy live events, and people were getting, all worked up about it because we know how frustrating it can be. So we've created this accessible parking working group. I think we have over 200 members in there, and they don't all attend. They're just monthly meetings. But I keep all of the members informed of what's going on. And this year is actually our year of action on accessible parking. And we're really focused on getting some legislation passed. And we've worked very hard on collecting data to increase the minimum number of accessible parking spots and parking lots. We have the data that really shows it needs to be increased drastically. There aren't enough accessible parking spots for the number of people who have placards to use them. And so we created the accessible parking guide. And you can go to the accessible parking webpage and download that guide. And I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. The next is our outdoor access working group. And this group is aimed at advocates with outdoor access and recreation experience. And they really come together against current constraints that hinder the disability community from participating in outdoor activities, while also raising awareness on the importance of inclusivity, equality for access to outdoor recreation. And you can see all the different resources that we've created in that working group. And the one that says water activities and recreations, and then it has 6 resources in parentheses there. Those 6 resources, I kind of listed them here. They include water skiing, wakeboarding, and tubing, surfing, kayaking, scuba diving, fishing, sailing. It's all information on accessible, just ways to get involved in outdoor access. So you can see on the bottom right corner, I have 2 websites. And the first is where you can access all of these resources. The second is kind of our participation form if you're interested in joining any of these working groups. And we have some people in one, we have some people that are going to be in all 6. So it's, like I said, it's however involved you want to be. Next is our emergency preparedness working group. And this one is extremely important. We've created some great resources for the disability community in hopes of helping people prepare more for disasters, because I know I was like, oh, I'll be fine. You don't really think of it. You don't really think of it sometimes until it's too late. So we've created all of these resources hoping that we can make a change in that, and that people can be safer and be more prepared, especially when we've seen recently with the wildfires and the hurricanes and the tornadoes. So I highly recommend checking those out. And the most recent resource just came out today. And it's a resource on generators, which may not sound too exciting, but it's very informative and very important, especially if you have equipment that needs power, whether it's a power wheelchair, a ventilator, any medical devices. If the power goes out, you want to make sure you have some sort of power to maintain those pieces of equipment. The next one is our care support working group. And this group, we really come together to identify policy and advocacy initiatives to improve care support services for people with diverse disabilities across the country. And there's some great topics we've covered in this one. Some of them are care support for travel. For those interested in traveling, I still need my care support when I travel. So it's just tips and tricks on how to do that, how to get things arranged. And like I said, it comes from the experience of these working group members from all over the country that are experts in their field and know and have been through a lot. So their input is extremely important and extremely helpful. These last 2 working groups, the first 4 I listed here, they meet monthly. And then these last 2, accessible transportation and the new health access working group, will meet quarterly, mainly just because of bandwidth. And we just don't have the time to run all 6 every month. So accessible transportation, exactly what it is. We work together on improving transportation, whether it's air travel, which we all know the issues with air travel, ground transportation, paratransit, whatever it may be. We come together, and we've not created any resources out of this working group yet, but they've come up with some great ideas for resources. And it's one of the newer working groups and doesn't have quite as many participants, but we still have quite a few in that one. And then lastly is health access. And our very first meeting is the end of next month. We're very excited to get this one started. I've experienced problems whenever I'm trying to go to the doctors or get an x-ray or whatever it may be. And we created this group because people with disabilities experience greater health disparities compared to the non-disabled peers. And the Health Access Working Group will advocate for improving access to healthcare services for the disability community. And the working group members will collaborate to identify healthcare accessibility problems, key obstacles, and societal barriers that prevent people with disabilities access to the resources to promote and maintain their health. So we're really looking forward to this, and we're going to be creating some great resources for the community out of this working group too. All right, I'm keeping track of my time here. The next, really quickly, like I said, this is our complete guide to accessible parking. We launched this guide back in January. I think this is such a great resource for the disability community, for businesses, for law enforcement, you name it. And it really, it dives into all of the rules and violations in regards to accessible parking. And it really provides a comprehensive information, including key terms, different types of accessible parking spaces, and it covers the process of obtaining and using an accessible parking permit. And then it also looks into important aspects like accessible parking etiquette and public education initiatives for various stakeholders and strategies for enforcing accessible parking regulations and preventing fraud. And right there, it's talking about the collective data we gathered to get the number of spaces up. We need quite a few more. And it's got the topics we want to push at the state level. And the group recently just put together what's called a one-pager for law enforcement. And it simply is what we're asking law enforcement to do in regards to accessible parking violations and what we're asking them to look for. And we lay it out in bullet points. It's a simple one page on letterhead that we can hand to law enforcement. So we're dispersing that to our working group members who then can conduct outreach and disperse it to the law enforcement in their community. Let's see here. Next, I'll talk about just a few other things of the advocacy program that are great resource-wise, meeting other advocates. We hold our Advocacy Live event the third Tuesday of every month with alternating times at 1 and 5. So our next one will be May 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And this is an open forum setting. Steve and I don't do much talking. We're there to kind of answer questions and facilitate, but we usually get 50 to 70 advocates a month joining, just talking about whatever is going on. If they have questions on certain things, if they're trying to work on any type of legislation or have questions about an issue. There's been many times where we had advocates from California that were able to help advocates in Florida. So it's just a way to bring all of our advocates together in one spot to kind of converse and just meet up. And this is actually where we came up with a lot of our working group ideas. This is another, actually, my Meet an Advocate live stream. I do one a month, and the one for this month is actually tomorrow. And it is with Lori Olendick from Iowa, and she is our chapter advocacy coordinator for United Spinal Association of Iowa. She's board member, and peer support mentor. And she's very involved with the outdoors. As you can see right in this picture, she's in one of the track chairs. She's helped get track chairs at some of her local parks and has helped with some accessible parking, getting accessible parking at the different parks. And this streams live to the 3 locations I have listed here. And all you have to do is be at any of those locations at noon tomorrow at Eastern time. And when you tune in, you can ask questions live that Lori and I can answer. You can comment. It's a really fun, interactive way to kind of just talk about these topics. And I've probably done between 40 to 50 of these, just highlighting the work of advocates from all over the country. And I really love it. And I've really met some great people through doing this. And then you can see there's actually a link for all of the past live streams that I've done. We kind of have an archive on the website. So you can go in there and there's little teasers so you can kind of read. And if it's one you're interested in, you just pull it up and watch the video. And it's usually about a 20 to 30-minute conversation that we have. Let's see what we got next here. This is our Roll on Capitol Hill. This is our signature event that we put on. This year, it's June 22nd to the 25th. And to participate in our roll or have the opportunity to participate, you have to be a registered advocate. So the last roll on Capitol Hill that was in DC was in 2023, and we had over 100 advocates flown in to do this roll on Capitol Hill. And we would love to have more. The problem is there's not enough hotels. We have to have accessible rooms for everybody, and we use them all. So we're really looking forward to it this year, and it really gets our advocates fired up. And it's a way to finally see each other in person rather than just, our floating heads here on the virtual meetings. We also hold a virtual advocacy day, which was this past March. And it is similar to the roll on Capitol Hill, but virtual. And we like to do this just so we keep in contact with our members of Congress. This is just a screenshot from when I was speaking to Senator Mike Braun. He's now our governor of Indiana. But it's just a way. We have usually a few issues we focus on that we talk to our members of Congress about and inform them. And a lot of times they have no idea about any of it until we bring it up and talk to them about it. So it's a very important part of our advocacy work. And this is just, if you're interested in becoming a registered advocate, you can scan this QR code or hit that link below. Very simple form. And like I said, you're not signing your life away. It's just, you'll be on our list. You'll receive those action alerts to send to your members of Congress. And then you'll receive emails every once in a while. We won't blow up your email because we know, people don't like their email being blown up constantly. So we really tried to pay attention to that. And like it says here, what are our expectations? We want advocates to participate at their own pace at any level they want. We provide many opportunities to get involved, and anyone can participate as long as they care about the disability community. You do not have to be a wheelchair user or have a disability to become a registered advocate at United Spinal. And lastly, these I just highlighted our Facebook page and then our brand new Facebook group. The United Spinal Association Advocacy Network Facebook page. This one is where I post all about resources, upcoming events. I do highlights on advocates. It's where the live streams to, all sorts of information like that. The second one, United Spinal Association Advocacy Hub Facebook group, is brand new. And I created this strictly for the advocates as a way to come together and just converse and engage. I'll hop on there once in a while and kind of look at the conversations or post something to start the conversation. But this is mainly for the advocates. So all you have to do is click on that link and join. And then I believe we already have about 150 or so people that have joined. So we're going to continue to grow that. And I think it just will be a great resource just to engage with each other along with the Advocacy Live, where you can talk with advocates from all over the US. And then this is Steve, who I've mentioned a few times. He's the Senior Director of Advocacy and Policy at United Spinal. Very busy man. He actually worked on Capitol Hill for 10 years before he worked at United Spinal. So it's great input because he knows it from both sides. So I just put our emails up here. If you want to contact both of us, you can simply just email advocacy@unitedspinal.org. And then at the very bottom is just the landing page for the advocacy program that contains pretty much all of the information that I've discussed tonight. But I really recommend checking out the advocacy resource webpage. And that's where you can find all of the resources I talked about, including the working group resources. And that's all I got.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Annie. It's so nice to have all these resources talked about in further explanation. So thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Annie.
Very
Before
well.
we move on, does anyone have any questions for Annie? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll pass it off to Molly now. Thanks, Molly.
So I am Molly. I am a occupational therapy student. I'm at the University of Vermont, and I was very fortunate to get to work with the Kelly Brush Foundation this spring and kind of the year leading up to it. I did a bunch of research into like how recreation and sports can impact quality of life and community integration post like spinal cord injury, as I've had a history with working in the adaptive sports field and have seen that firsthand, kind of the impact it can have on individuals and the larger community. So I looked at facilitators and barriers to the return to recreation and found social supports to be both a barrier and a facilitator, and started to explore some of the resources that existed tailored to those individuals. And there was quite a large gap. So my focus for my project was to create some resources that helped guide the support systems to then have a larger impact on the individual. And the active project was a really great resource to kind of build off of. So I wasn't starting from scratch. There's already this amazing community existing and just making it more expansive to the larger community. So I'd love to go through my created resources and the family and friend hub that I developed as a part of my project. And thank you, Annie. That was really great. United Spinal was a resources I definitely explored a bit, and attached for some of my information for others to connect directly to as well. Okay. Should be seeing my screen. So like I said, I wanted to consolidate some of the resources I developed as well as link to existing resources to just help create a conversation starter, and general starting place for friends and family, as well as others in the community that may not know how to get involved into the adaptive sports world. And so my project started by surveying 25 KBF athletes and seeing what impact their support system had on them, what they wish they might see more of, and just the general barriers and facilitators that they experienced. And I used those results to kind of generate the outline of my created resources. So I like to highlight what recreation and how it can impact everybody or an individual's lives, and how it does have an impact on quality of life and life satisfaction post injury. And then I started to generate some before you go considerations. So all of these are externally linked. So talking about like general accessibility, have people considered what parking looks like where they're going to recreate? Are there restrooms available for their loved one to use? How are they getting to where they're going? Some of the general human factors, such as like hygiene, do they know if their individual has what they need for bladder and bowel care? Do they have hand sanitizer? Everyone needs that. And just a general first aid kit. Thinking about larger gear, adaptive equipment is pretty gear intensive. So just talking about educating yourself on the general equipment that the individual you're supporting is using. General maintenance, regardless of if it's adaptive specific, is always super helpful. And knowing the basics of the equipment can also promote safety from the start. And then having extras of clothing, sunscreen, water, batteries if the equipment is battery powered, having a backup plan, and the general terrain check. So thinking about like width of trails that you're going on, how cambered are surfaces. So just kind of giving people something to base their initial assessment of where they're going and what they're doing. Can you guys see the terrain checklist?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I didn't know if it changed pages with me.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And then as well as some disability sensitivity, um, I feel like this is important for everyone, even the individual with a disability. Like this is something that happens to them typically later in life, and it can be hard to know like how to engage with someone after something happens. So it's important, and I think this is where my OT lens really came in handy, was ensuring that we're asking the individual, as all of these are super individual specific, regardless of level of injury or experience. Everyone's circumstances are unique to them. And that's where the acknowledging part comes in, and making sure that these conversations and check-ins are happening regularly so we're able to best support their experiences and unique goals. And then adapting, like that's kind of the name of the game, is how flexible and open-minded can we be, and getting really creative to figure out how can we promote independence and help them seek their individual goals in whatever adaptive sports and recreation they're participating in, and seeking out learning opportunities for yourself as a supporter, as there are so many ways to kind of get involved, which I'll go into further. This was one of my favorite ones as an adaptive sports um, staff. My favorite tools were duct tape, Velcro, and zip ties. Like thinking kind of outside the box, like how can you use everyday pieces of like equipment and stuff to kind of get the best success, or make it the equipment most compatible for the individual if something is to happen kind of on the fly, if you're on the trail or mid whatever sport. There's just kind of a quick fix toolkit people can explore. And then going into kind of a basic spinal cord injury 101. So this brings you to an external link. That's the wrong page. That kind of goes over how spinal cord injuries can impact both movement and sensation, what different levels of injuries may impact a complete versus an incomplete injury, key level of injury considerations. I found this to be really helpful when I was introducing these resources to Vermont Adaptive, where I work, as a lot of our volunteers and staff aren't familiar with like the clinical aspects of what a spinal cord injury is and how it might impact. So being able to see a level of injury written on someone's client profile, and then have a better visual of how that might impact them for skiing, for biking. And like I said, it is just a starting point. Like, okay, they are a T4, so that means that this is typically what it impacts. This is going to guide my conversation when they come in the door. And then I linked more resources as I gave a very general overview, so people can explore more as they're interested and kind of as needed. And then I broke some of the safety considerations down even further by like necessity. So talking about some of the safety considerations that may arise from secondary health conditions that are caused or are common with spinal cord injury. So I broke down autonomic dysreflexia, how body temperature regulation, bladder and bowel management in terms of recreating, skin protection, and spasticity. I'm going to view these all together in the resources below, but they can be clicked and explored independently. But my favorite of the resources I created was through the conversations I had with 7 KBF athletes. So a lot of the key themes I got from my survey I thought was best pulled from the lived experience. So I created a list of questions based off of the survey results to ask individuals. And so all these interviews include what recreation means to them, how important recreation is to their life, who do they like to recreate with, and how do those people best support them, as well as additional like inclusivity of like how important it is that others support invite them to do outings instead of them being the one kind of motivating all of the recreation. um, and I tried to hit a broad variety of both level of injuries and sports. So we have individuals with incomplete and complete spinal cord injuries, quadriplegic and paraplegic, and the sports range from fencing to skiing to professional cycling. So it's pretty cool to check out these resources, and you can view based off of the sports you're interested in or the level. And while these are geared towards the support system, I think these could be useful for anyone, including those with an injury who would like to see how others with a similar injury or sport interest perform and recreate. And then finally, just kind of offering some additional suggestions on how you can get involved as a supporter. So I wanted to connect them to the existing capabilities of the active project. So informing them that they could be the one to make a connection with an individual or an organization by exploring the member map on the active project to find sports and organizations in their area, and also advocating for them to participate in adaptive sports programming and lessons. While most adaptive sports programs don't broadcast that they include friends and family, those that I talk to all welcome friends and family participation, as this can allow individuals to become more independent once they have the skill and equipment to do the sport and recreation on their own. And so having your family and friends who you hope to recreate with after with you can help kind of streamline that information process, and they're able to get the skills in a more supported environment. And then asking questions. So this is connecting them to the active project forum. There's sports specific forums as well as just general ones. So if you had questions about how to get a piece of equipment into this kind of vehicle to transport it, or how have people modified this piece of equipment for this level of injury, these forums and community conversations are welcome for everyone. So just connecting people to those as well. And all of this information is consolidated into these resource guides, and these have been sent to adaptive sports organizations that partner with the Kelly Brush Foundation so that they can reference them internally as well and kind of make it known that these resources are available to the larger community. Not clicking on it for me, but we can I can explore it somewhere else. And then all my resources that I use to create these are listed here for further exploration. So all of this information, after I've been chatting, can be found under the links and resources on the active project. So anyone can access these in the community. We just require you to register through the active project and find it there. So I can't, for some reason, pull up my resources at the bottom, but just give you an overview of what some of the safety considerations look like. I break down, trying to very simply put some medically dense topics. So going over what autonomic dysreflexia is, signs and symptoms, and then how to react to that in kind of a recreational setting, as well as kind of the gravity of the situation. So one thing I found during this research was just how few people in the sports and recreation world knew of autonomic dysreflexia or different temperature regulation differences for those with spinal cord injuries, and how important it is to address those, and just have the general knowledge of them. A lot of information. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much, Molly. That was really a great presentation and great resource. I think that will be really helpful for not only friends and family, but also for people with spinal cord injuries to be able to then share with their friends and family. Um, so thank you.
Thanks
Uh,
so much for sharing this. It's very impressive to see all of these resources in one spot too. I think people can pull from them and programs can pull from them as well. Um, I think it will be really nice so people can feel safe going out in the community.
yeah, definitely. Um, Well, I wanted to kind of open it up to the group here as well. Any, does anyone have any? I know we have a couple of different people on that I'm familiar with, but does anyone have any set examples of kind of a moment when friends and family played a key role? If you're someone who lives with a spinal cord injury, or if you're a family member, any moment when you personally have played a key role in getting someone involved in recreation. Not to point anyone out, but Tim, thanks for joining. I know that you have a lot of experience with uh, going surfing with your friends and family, and have a whole crew of people that come along with you. And was wondering maybe if you could share with the group with how you do that, and how you found success in doing that.
Yeah, excuse me. Thanks, Diane, and thanks, Molly. That was a great presentation. Like Dan and Megan said, incredibly comprehensive. So yeah, so a little bit about me for those who I have not met. I'm a C4, C5 spinal cord injury from a skiing accident 14 years ago. I grew up in Massachusetts and skied and snowboarded and surfed since I was a kid. And for me, after my accident, not being able to surf was like devastating, because it felt like it was such a core and is a core part of my identity. But I felt like I couldn't be a surfer if I was not able to paddle out on my own and stand up on a board. And about a year and a half after my accident, some friends in New Hampshire reached out to my dad and said, it's time, we really should help Tim get back in the ocean. And so on like a cold November day in 2012, those folks in New Hampshire and my family and some friends got together and helped me get out in the ocean and get into a few waves. And honestly, it was pretty uncomfortable and I didn't really love it that first time, but it got me back in the ocean, and then we kept doing it. And now I go, as often as I can, which is a good handful of times every year. And I've come to really love experiencing surfing as an adaptive surfer now. So I think had those folks who knew me well enough to know that I should be in the ocean not made the effort to help me get in the water, I don't know how long it would have taken for me to start surfing again. And to this day, when I go, I can't go by myself. I have a crew of at least, 4 or 5 people every time. We've kind of unofficially called ourselves the Wave Crew. So a group of folks in Massachusetts and Maine and Southern New Hampshire who are good friends and family members, and helped me get in the water. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think, you know, one thing that's relevant to what you just shared, Molly, is that we have kind of informally created our own protocol for how I surf and where people are positioned and how I get on and off the board and what to do when I fall off the board in the ocean and getting back on and everything. But I'm certain a lot of them do not know what AD is or like how, you know, my body temperature regulation is different. I mean, they observe it and I share that with them, but I think uh, they would be educated checking out the resource that you created. So yeah, I think, and in my experience in other sports, most people don't know about a lot of those things that those of us who are familiar with it intimately through our lived experience or our work kind of take for granted.
And Tim, that's exactly where this project was born from, because I was at an event and an adaptive sports volunteer didn't know what AD was. And I thought, uh-oh, someone working with spinal cord injury should probably know what AD is.
Yeah,
And so what else do people need to be a helpful and useful recreation partner?
yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. It's like it's so huge and most people are not familiar with it. I mean, it's you know so impactful on our lives. Um, Diane, was there more that you wanted me to share?
No, that was great. Thank you,
Okay.
Tim. And going back a little bit, I think something really valuable that you said, many things that you said were valuable, but is just how the first time you even tried it, like it wasn't even that much fun, you know? Like, and I feel like that can I as like a quad as well. It's just like a lot of times it's like uncomfortable and you're just like oftentimes like trying to just like figure out what works and feel super like for me personally, like I feel like, oh my God, I'm asking too much, or like this is probably even not fun for the people helping me. So like they're not having fun. So how could I be having fun if they're not having fun? And so I think there's just like a lot of like logistics that kind of go into figuring something out and figuring a new activity out. So, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, but then like the more you do it, it only takes like, you know, just that first step or like that first try. And then it's like oftentimes like even afterwards all my friends or who I went with are like, that was so much fun. I'm like, really? Like, are you sure? But then that encourages me to like try it again. And then it's like the second time is like, oh, okay, that was more fun than the first time. And then you do it one more time, and then it just like gets more and more fun. And then you realize like you find a new flow or new groove, and you find out like how to do it and what works best for you. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Dan. I can share one more thing quickly. You know, after that first time not having fun, I remember telling my parents that, and they were kind of upset hearing me say that because so many people had come out, and you know, it was like everyone around you was smiling, and you know, they're so excited, and you're in your own head thinking like, I should be happier than I am right now, you know, but it's also in retrospect entirely reasonable to be doing something if it's especially if it's something you've done before when you weren't disabled and did it entirely differently to not right away just be like, oh, this is amazing, you know. And so I think that it's important to be able to hold space for those emotions too. And you know, and to again tie it to this meeting, I think having a resource to say, hey, you know what, like maybe check out this resource on the KBF website, which explains some of the reasons why I was uncomfortable. Like I was freezing and I was experiencing AD, and these are not just like things that I'm making up. They are real and they impact my experience. And I just want to say one more thing real quick because it's relevant to KBF. Um, I also am an adaptive skier and skied a lot before my accident. And the first, I want to say 6 winters that I skied after my accident, I didn't really love it. And then, because I felt like I was doing it for other people. And then I decided that if I was going to do it, I should commit to it. And I got a grant from KBF for my own dynamique. And then, like, that was the turning point, and that allowed me to do it more on my own terms. And it's been so much better ever since. So I just think that's an important shout out to Kelly Brush Foundation. So thought I'd share that.
Yes, love it. Thank you.
It's
Thanks,
so
Tim,
great
for
to hear that.
sharing.
Oh yeah, go for it, Molly.
I was just gonna say, like, um, another reason I was really amped to do this was I know a lot of people with spinal cord injuries, and like a lot of them are pretty far out from their injury, and they're very, very good at advocating for what they need. But I feel like to get to that point is hard. Like, you don't know what you need at first. And so, like, having others be at least somewhat aware of what is going on, to be checking in, to be giving them some of the verbiage towards like, hey, can we just like make sure everyone's on the same page with this before, to give them the tools to then like become their like own advocate. And that's another great thing that I've seen with like the KBF sport specific camps and stuff is those who are have newer injuries or newer to our sport are getting some of that like verbiage and experience from those who have more years under their belt or more experience under their belt. So just creating a wider net to help more people from the start.
Definitely. Well, thank you all for being here. Any other, I guess we're coming up on our time, but are there any other comments or questions that have come up?
It was so great to have all these shared today, and I think it will be nice to have this recorded for everyone to listen in that weren't able to make it today and in the future. So thank you guys so much for joining.
Yes. Thank you for joining. And if you haven't and would like to, please give us some feedback on these active projects lives with the link in the chat, and how we can go on to continue make it better or improve. That would be awesome. Thanks. And have a great night, everyone.
Bye, guys. See you guys soon.
Well,
Well,
I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, we'll just wait.
How'd I do?
You guys
Amazing.
introduced Molly wrong because you said an OT student, and I don't think that's true
I
anymore.
haven't graduated yet. I'm still a student. We're
I was
getting
ready to
there.
say congratulations, but I take back my
But you're like done with
congratulations.
school, right? So I
I
guess like
submitted my capstone last week. Yeah.
yeah, you're
Molly, I'm
right.
so proud of you. This
You're
is such
done.
a
That was
huge
so good,
thing. It's
Molly.
so cool to have
Thank
like
you.
everything in one place. I don't think anyone's ever seen this all in one place. So this is
Uh,
incredible.
this looks, I mean, did the developers make it all fancy or was that you?
Yeah,
Because
they
it
did.
looked,
They did a
it,
really good job.
That
it's
like it's
not,
really
It's
good.
the
I'm,
little things. I
I'm
so
not
Oh
saying
yeah.
it didn't look good before, but I'm blown away
No,
now.
it's really good. I was very excited with how it came out.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
told
be.
you. I said just
I'm
get
so
all your
excited.
stuff on there. But you did an amazing job with keeping. Oh no, Langdon is joining on.
You know who Landon is?
No.
Yeah, isn't Landon from High Fives?
Yeah, it might be him, but I don't know if he's got
Yeah,
him. Well,
he's
system.
late.
Yeah, but Molly, that's just incredible. I think it's awesome, and I think this is gonna help out literally everybody. So it's
I'm
awesome.
proud of you.
Hmm.
I'm happy it turned out. Like I had no idea when I started like how to put together what was happening in my brain. So very pleased with the outcome.
Good job.
Mama
Mm.
Tobin, are you proud of her too?
I gotta run,
She's
but
on
I'll see you guys soon.
so I have to say I couldn't speak.